Bluespecs beer reviews, and I am here with a revisit. I am here with a revisit of a beer that I first reviewed back in 2013, I believe, late 2013. This is Leinenkugels Orange Shandy. This is a revisit of this beer, if you want to call it that. Typically with Leinenkugels, which is a subdivision, it was its own company, but now it became a subdivision of Miller and SAB, and now it's a part of the uh, empire that is SAB Miller. No, not Miller. Um, Miller Coors. That's what I meant to say. Um, this so basically with Leinenkugels, they make beers which are for people who don't really drink a lot of beer. It's like kind of introductory stuff, I guess, or I guess stuff that you would like that basically somebody who doesn't drink a whole lot of craft beer would drink. Leinenkugels makes usually B to C type of stuff, in my opinion. Um, their Summer Shandy, which is their flagship, and they're one of the most popular beers, and their most popular beer, I am not a fan of. They have a lot of they have some other beers which I do like, but I'm not big on. But this one, when I first tried it, while I didn't see it as a beer, for some reason I loved it. Now back in, on October 29th, 2013, I was hit by a car, and my leg was broke, so I was pretty much laid up. I couldn't really do anything back then, which is about almost 5 years ago. Um, at that point, I couldn't really do anything. I was basically laid up. Um, I had to get surgery and stuff like that. So I remember I couldn't go anywhere. So I was like, my mom and sister, when they were like, "Hey, do you want some beer or anything?" I was like, I either wanted this or I wanted natural ice, because did expect them to get anything that was, some kind of nice craft beer that they didn't know about or anything. So I had to get this, and I loved it. And I haven't seen it since 2013, 2014, and now I have not seen it. So I think I've seen it for the past week or so. But apparently, it is no longer a winter seasonal, because when it first came out, it was a winter seasonal, I believe. Um, let's see what it's like now. If it's changed at all, see if I still like it, and we're gonna find out. But I just remember when I was laid up, I loved this beer. I loved it. Come to think of it, Jay Terry, if you're watching this, do you remember back in 2013, 2014, somewhere in there, when there was a beer produced by Miller, which was like a Day of the Dead beer? It was like a Mexican. It was like a Mexican Day of the Dead beer. It was maybe with guava or something. And I did a beer examination with you. That was the only time I've ever been able to do one with you, was when we examined that beer. I cannot for the life of me, I cannot for the life of me recall the name of that beer, but you remember that, and I wonder if that has ever come back. So, if I don't spill a beer all over me, um, this beer did have a pretty significant head, and now it's kind of gone down to sort of a smaller one. The body is entirely cloudy and opaque, with that orange, juicy looking appearance. Um, the smell is just like I recall. It smells like an orange, sweet, citrusy, delicious orange, with a little bit of like a fake sort of orange there, just a little bit. But it smells like a delicious orange to me. So let's go ahead and see if this beer has changed at all. See if it is still something that I love, even though it's probably not a real beer to me. Oh yeah. Oh my god, yeah. Fuck yes. It is. Okay, so this is what I would consider a beer. I don't remember considering it a beer back then, but this is to me a beer, even though The summer shandy I would not consider it as such, but this to me is still is a beer. It's a beer in my opinion. Um, it has that same delicious orange beer taste to me. It does have half of like a beer type of has have sort of a half of a beer type of profile. The other half is like a taste of like a delicious orange. Even though it's the beer is not sweet, it still tastes like a beer to me. It just has that delicious sort of sweet, sort of like bready orange type of thing going on. It's hard to explain. But I think if you try it, I think you will like it. Unless you hate flavored beers for some reason. This to me is a flavored beer. It's not a malt beverage or anything. It is a beer. I absolutely love it. It tastes so good. I'm gonna buy some more. Um, I could kill this one thing right now. It just is so good in my opinion. The feel is light. It's light, sort of crisp. It's delicious. It goes down well. It's drinkable and very, very crushable. As you can see, I can crush it right now and be done. You know, and I am just because it's so light and orangey and juicy and just delicious and crisp. And oh my god, I love it. I love this. Love this beer. Granted, most of the time I would prefer a regular beer or a regular craft beer at most times. Like I prefer Hams or Budweiser or Miller High Life, or I prefer an IPA like Founders Centennial IPA or something like that is usually what I would go for. But this really is not what I would usually go for. But I love this. I think it's a solid A. Could be. I think you could argue in beer overall. I think it's an A. For flavored beer itself, I think it is a solid A plus because it doesn't have. Because the way I judge flavored beers is that if it's more flavor than it is beer, it's more like a malt beverage to me, and it's totally just out of the whole classification of being a beer. While as if it's level or the beer thing is higher, then I think it's a good quality, good flavored beer as long as it tastes good and it's delicious, and I'm really enjoying the whole experience of drinking it. And this fits that for me. So when I'm in the mood for a flavored beer, especially if you like orange, most people do, not all do, but most do. If you like the flavor of an orange, you will like this, I think. And you like beer, of course. That's how crushable it is. Never before, I don't think I have finished a beer on camera for you, but there it is. Let me know if you've had the Leinenkugels Orange Shandy. I'm glad to see it back. Um, I'm not sure if it's been around for the past 4 years. Between when I first had it, when I had a broken leg 4 or 5 years ago, and now I don't know if it's been around. I just haven't seen it, or if it's a new, or if you haven't already. And thank you very much for watching.